Island Baby by Holly Keller. Pops poured a mug of juice for Simon and one for himself. Then they sat on the front steps without talking and watched the sea. Simon wiggled his toes. "It's hot," he said. "Yup," Pops agreed. "And time to get to work." Simon set down his mug and went into the old shack. The screen door banged shut behind him. A parrot on a perch near the roof began to squawk. Simon looked up and smiled. "I'm coming," he said. Then he filled the red can with seeds and the silver one with fruit, the way the Pops had shown him. Everybody on the island knew about Pop's bird hospital. Sometimes he had so many sick birds to take care of, the noise made Simon's head ache. But he loved Pop's birds, and he came to help him every morning. "You're going to be a fine bird doctor," Pops had told him. And Simon liked to think about having his own bird hospital someday. Simon and Pops worked all morning, checking the birds, cleaning the cages, and fixing food. Then, around lunchtime, Pops always took a nap, and Simon went home. "See you at 9 sharp tomorrow," Pops said, and he covered his face with yesterday's newspaper to keep the sun out. Simon could see Mama's wash blowing on the line from the end of Pop's driveway. He cut through the bushes to the cliff edge path and picked up a handful of pebbles. When he got to the place on the path where there was a clear view of the sea, he tossed one over the edge. Simon looked down to see where it had landed. A small bird was bobbing up and down in the water. He watched as the bird was pulled out by the sea and then hurled back in against the rocky cliff wall over and over again. "Fly!" Simon yelled. "Why don't you fly away?" But the bird didn't move. Simon skidded down the gravelly cliff until he stood ankle deep in the swirling foam. The rocks were slippery, and each time he tried to grab the bird, the water pulled it away. It was a long time before he realized that Pops was standing behind him. Pops had a net, and in a few minutes, the baby flamingo was in it. "One of his legs is broken," Pops said, "and he's pretty banged up." "What happened to him?" Simon asked. "He must have been blown into the water and couldn't find a place to come back on the shore," Pops said as he eased the little bird out of the net. "These babies will swim up the coast looking for a break in the rocks until they're too tired to do anything but float." Pop settled the bird in Simon's arm and gave Simon a little punch on the shoulder. "Same thing might have happened to you, young man, if your mama hadn't started wondering where you were." Simon went back to the hospital with Pops and helped bandage the bird's leg. Then they put him in an empty cage, and Pops wrote the date on the clipboard he kept hanging on a nail. "What do you want to call him?" Pops asked. Simon shrugged. "I don't know," he said. "Why not just Baby?" And Pops wrote that down too. Simon started coming over to Pop's place earlier and earlier every morning. He put ointment on Baby's bruises and fed him little snails and plants that Pops got from the marshes. He found crabs on the beach for Baby to chase so his leg would get strong. When Baby got tired, he would sit down next to Simon on the floor. If Simon got up and walked away, Baby followed him, and Simon knew that they were friends. Baby's leg was healed by the end of the summer, and Pop said the words that Simon had been dreading. "I think it's about time to set Baby free." "I don't want to," Simon said, and he rested his cheek on Baby's soft back. Pops pulled on his beard and shook his head. "Now that would be a fine thing, wouldn't it?" he said. "You'd be going off to start school, and I'd be left here to care for this spoiled baby of yours." Simon knew Pops was joking, but he didn't laugh. The next morning, Pops was waiting for Simon in the truck. Simon got Baby and climbed up onto the front seat. It took about 20 minutes to get to the big salt marsh at the end of the island, and Simon couldn't think of anything to talk about. "Just wade in with him a bit and set him down," Pop said when he turned off the motor. Simon was quiet when he got back to the truck, and Pops concentrated on his driving. "He looked okay," Simon said finally when they were almost home. "But I still wish he could have stayed." Pops nodded. After dinner, Simon helped Mama take the wash off the line. A cloud of bright pink flamingos raced across the sky. "Baby will be up there soon," he told Mama, feeling suddenly proud. "You did a good job," she said. "Mama," Simon asked, "when I start going to school, will you miss me?" "Of course I will," Mama said, "but I'll be proud of you too." And they walked toward the house together.